Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March 20th, 2025 meeting of the Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee. I am Margaret Abekoga, the chair of the committee, and I would like to ask that at this time, if everyone could please turn off or mute your electronic devices, including cell phones, that may interrupt the meeting. Peggy, would you mind please calling the roll to establish the presence of a quorum?
Good morning, Vice Chairperson Arenas.
Here.
Chairperson Abekoga.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to item 2, which is public comment. This item is reserved for persons who wish to address the committee on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the committee that is not on this agenda. The law does not permit committee action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. Members of the public who wish to address the committee on a non-agendized item should request to speak at this time by giving a request to speak form to the deputy clerk if you are in the chambers, or by using the raise hand icon if attending virtually. Are there any speakers?
We have no speakers this morning.
Great, thank you. Then we will close public comment. I move on to item 3, the approval of the consent calendar and changes to the committee agenda. Are there any changes or comments you'd like to make, Supervisor Arenas?
No motion to move the consent agenda.
Thank you. I will second that motion. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
We have no speakers.
Great. We'll close public comment, and could you please take roll, please?
Vice Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Chairperson Abekoga.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to the regular agenda. Item 4 is to receive a report relating to fire services in South Santa Clara County. And do we have staff presenting? Yes, we do. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson Abekoga and Vice Chairperson Arenas. I'm John Mills, Deputy County Executive, and with me is Suwana Gurdgao, Fire Chief of the Santa Clara County Central Fire Protection District. We are here today with the report that was requested as part of the board's action on January 14th to initiate the application to LAFCO for the reorganization of the fire districts. The report touches on various topics that were included in the board's motion related to Volunteer Company 70, community outreach that has ensued to date, the formation of a transition advisory council, the status of the Amador agreement for year-round service at the Pacheco station, station access to the existing stations in the South County Fire District, and impacts to the CAL FIRE firefighters who are currently staffing the South County Fire District. So with that overview, we're available to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any questions or comments?
I do, but if you want to take public comment, I'll do it after.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll move to public comment then.
We have no speakers in chambers, and one moment for the Zoom room. We have no virtual speakers either.
Okay, great. We will close public comment then.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the efforts that have been taking place to ensure that we get the information that we need for our community to have. And so I'm really grateful. I know that there's a whole list of dates that you will be in the different parts of South County to make sure that folks can begin to ask you questions or at least express their concerns. The first thing that I wanted to ask you about is, what have you heard so far in terms of concerns? I also had some coffee hours and had folks come in about that, but I'd love to know directly from you, what are like the main top 3 concerns?
Thank you, Vice Chair Arenas. Again, Suwana Gurdgao, Fire Chief for Santa Clara County Fire Department. So in the effort for the department to outreach to the community members, We have had several office hours as well as participation at the San Martin Community Association's meeting. And we also have an inbox that we created to allow folks to send their concerns or questions to us. So working backwards in the inbox, we've only received 7 questions, and they have been questions that were related to just operational concerns, a question about Company 70. Most of the answers were able to be answered pretty quickly within that inbox. As far as the office hours that we've maintained, there have been 4 to date. There have been a handful of folks who have come by, again, just asking various questions. Some are just stakeholders looking to see if we have information regarding the operational plan for us to be down there. So nothing substantial from either of those 2 outreach efforts from the organization. Overall, the concerns, to answer your question, the top 3, I would just say is regarding the station that we have to take in place of the Morgan Hill Station for the CAL FIRE headquarters. The timeline, which again is dependent on LAFCO. And then I think overall it would be just how we're going to work with the partners down there. And again, for us, we take that opportunity to remind folks who may not know that County Fire used to be down there for almost 20 years when we had the contract from Morgan Hill, that the resources down there, we fully understand, rely on each other. That's Gilroy Fire, Morgan Hill Fire, South County Fire District. Again, CAL FIRE has the contract. Today, should County Fire be down there, whenever LAFCO agrees, it will still be those 3 entities. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us when we're asked that question to be able to remind folks that we have been down there together, 3 organizations and agencies, for almost 2 decades in the past, and we anticipate the same collaborative partnership moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do want to ask you about the station. There is that concern about the loss of a station. And how have you addressed that concern?
So right away, we turned to the county, and the county has been a good partner to help us look for options. One of the things that we have as a real asset is that many of our members actually live in the South County area, and we were able to find a location that right now is still not disclosed because we have not finalized the lease, but it would be a suitable temporary station while we continue to look for the permanent station. One of the things that we want to make sure we do as an organization is look at all of the reports that were presented or completed, whether it was LAFCO or the study that was done previously for those 3 entities, those 3 fire entities, and ensure that we're looking at where recommended station location is as part of the consideration for the permanent station.
Got it. Thank you so much. And so, irregardless of where that station is, when the contract ends on June 30th, you'll begin July 1st, correct, with fire services in South County?
I think that's dependent on LAFCO's direction, but we are preparing as if it is July 1st to
Okay.
answer your questions.
Great. Assuming that LAFCO all goes well, then it would be
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
perfect. And so, good, thank you. I'm reassured. I know that there's a lot of folks that listen to our Hewlett committee, and regardless of whether there's public comment, there are viewers that are listening and taking in what we do. So I appreciate that. Some of this information, I know some of it is just to reiterate to our public. There is a concern for volunteer company 70, and I know that you spoke about it. That is one of the questions that you've received. I know that there is a concern in terms of the kind of, I think, certification that might be needed, the Firefighter 1 and the EMT certification. how have you answered that question about Company 70? There's a lot of folks who are there as volunteers because they respond to just structural fires. They don't respond to any medical or any car incidents. It's really just structural. As you know, from the folks that live in South County, they understand that it's really important to be a community that responds to each other's needs. And there's a lot of folks who live on the hillsides who live pretty remotely, and that is, it goes back to what this country used to do at one point or another, and that's help each other and rely on our neighbors. We've lessened that in urban areas, but in rural areas, that still is kind of the golden rule. And so I know that this is really important to my community. How are we going to address that?
Vice Chair Arenas, it is very important to us as well. And part of the reason why it is because we also currently have a volunteer program. We've had one for a very long time. The organization is a product, Central Fire Protection District is a product of annexations and consolidations, and one of the consolidations that we had that we feel was very successful was with Saratoga Fire District volunteers. And again, we have a track record of being able to walk into those conversations and understand where they're at and where they have performed in the past, and support in the way that we can, additional training, additional, again, opportunities. And when I say training, I do mean additional opportunities for training, because really, when the bell goes off, knowing that they can perform and we can perform isn't just on didactic book learning. You have to get out there, pull hose, put your BA on, mask up, have, again, the partnership of knowing that you have somebody on the hose line behind you. You have a water supply, and down there, water supply is definitely a bigger challenge than it is up here in the northern part of the county. So when it comes to supporting them, there have been multiple conversations one-on-one with the deputy fire chiefs, myself, really wanting to unpack how they operate, and also supporting not just where they're at today, but where they'd like to be. Again, we see the opportunity for that Company 70 to be, should they desire it, a pathway into the organization. We do have one member who, on the last academy, did come from Company 70, and she, walked into her interview and was very proud to be part of the South County community and part of Company 70, and that just resonated with us, and she's doing well on probation currently. So we fully hear and recognize and value the value of Company 70 down in South County. What some of the things that we don't know is, again, certifications, making sure that they're safe, that we're safe, that we all get the training that we all need to be able to do the jobs. Mm-hmm. So you asked a lot about EMT certifications and other certifications. That's a lot to unpack, but I assure you, Supervisor, Vice Chair, that we will do everything that we can to support them. I had mentioned in the San Martin Community Association meeting that one of our deputy fire chiefs started his career as a volunteer for the organization. He is a South County resident, and that resonates fully with him. And this is where the training division resides under. It's one of his direct reports, and so I feel very confident that we will be able to support the Company 70.
I love it. I love it. I think there's a lot of folks who go into a volunteer firefighter program because they want to pursue a career in this field. And then there's folks, and I think maybe there's a bifurcation of the kinds of categories of volunteers, especially maybe in South County or some rural areas, because there's some who are going to pursue the career long term, like the one the person that you just mentioned. I think I know who she is, and I'm really proud of that. And then there's folks who have been coming to my coffee hours or who have been connecting to my office and saying, you know, we don't want to become a firefighter, but we love helping our community out. We live in this rural area. We are ready to respond. We have responded. And we don't necessarily need a path forward for a career. And so I just hope that you can take that into consideration. I know that you're probably taking a look at the different kinds. You said various times that you're unpacking this, and I'm really grateful for that level of analysis and consideration. I just wanted to express the kind of maybe categories or differences I think that you'll see, that you'll continue to see in South County, and maybe I don't need to tell you about it because you have already been there in terms of South County, but definitely in other rural areas. So I'll go ahead and move on about that. You know, the station access, or the station that people feel like they're going to lose it, it is a loss, right? It is a loss, and we're going to have to make it up somehow. And they have a fear of having maybe insufficient access to fire service. And so I just wanted to make sure that they hear from you officially through this committee how we will make that up. I hear you said, I heard you loud and clear say earlier you're taking a look at a potential property. We can't reveal exactly where it's at this moment because it's still going through some vetting process. But I just love to hear from you for our community that you recognize this concern and that you're continually working on making sure that there isn't a misstep or there isn't a loss of access.
So I think sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words, and we recently had a fire station grand opening that is in a county unincorporated area, in which it is, I would say, a space where a lot of the residents may have felt forgotten or maybe not gotten the attention. Mm-hmm. And that station, and you can find it on our YouTube site, really represents County Fire's dedication and commitment to all community members throughout our jurisdiction served. The station build had a lot of elements that were engineered in mind to address concerns that folks had with wildfire risk, being able to detect wildfire early, to be able to have access or expanded needs, because again, it's a rural area where roads are very windy, they're very difficult to get to. Water supply, again, is a challenge in that area. So it's easy to talk about, oh, well, we're going to make sure that the community will have their station. But I think that example shows that County Fire has looked at and dedicated resources, fiscal resources, and resources within the organization to get that project across to fruition, and we anticipate doing the same in South County.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And those are my questions. I just want to thank you once again for all the work that you're doing to reassure our community, and also to just the path forward on taking this on for the south part of our county. And I know that not everybody feels the same way, and not because it's a reflection on your fire district, but it changes are difficult. And I hope that you can, we all can weather this together. And so I appreciate all of the access to your office hours. If there's an opportunity for us to do something together in terms of office hours, I would love for us to join forces and do that collectively, so that, we can be singing the same tune at the same time in harmony. All right, I'll end with that analogy. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Innes. I also want to add my thanks to everyone for your outreach efforts, by our staff and from Central Fire. It sounds like there's we're getting through to answering the many questions that have come forward, and hopefully being able to assuage concerns. I know folks are just very on high alert with the fires that happened in Southern California. We had a neighborhood meeting in the Los Altos Hills last night, and the topic was fire. I want to thank our staff here who showed up and were very helpful in answering those questions. But and also Edgar was there too from SEPA, and appreciated. We talked about weed abatement a little bit. So, but I wanted to ask again, going back to the timing and the transition. So I know the LAFCO meeting, I believe, is in April, and if they approve it, then we'll transition July 1st. I was reading about the staffing, and I had asked about potential displacement, and I appreciate that you tried to get information. I hope that CAL FIRE might be able to provide more later, but in regards to that transition and staffing, are we fully, will we be fully able to staff the, okay, because I noticed that
so
your
let
new
me-
academy is later in
Yes.
25.
So to answer your question, so we just had 9 graduate from an academy that was already planned. We went ahead and had somebody who was on the list who had just recently come out of a Joint Fire Academy. And so we have 10 going through our in-house, and they'll be on probation very shortly, or they are on probation very shortly. We have another academy of 10 starting in March 31st, and again, as the report noted, an academy of estimated 20 that will start mid-April. As we go out to the stations, so we have A-staff inspections that happen in the spring every year, where we go out and go to every single station and are available to the crew to answer questions from our local members. And one of the things that we basically use as an analogy is County Fire is very committed to the California mutual aid system. And during the summer, it is not unusual for us to have anywhere from 20, 25, 30 members out on deployment. Now, granted that that's usually for 2 weeks at a time, and sometimes they'll come back on a large wildfire and we'll switch out crews, and then they'll go back out. So we see this as an opportunity with our local to see that as sort of a frame of mind with a longer deployment time frame, even though it's not a deployment, it's more backfilling at home. And our local members are very all in. Talking to them, they understand that everybody's going to have to pick up a little bit more just to get us through that mid-August date, where we'll have that first academy come out or graduate. And typically we don't lose a lot of numbers in our academy. Occasionally we'll lose one, but we do anticipate that of the 30 that are going through backgrounds today, that we will get around that amount ready to work very early on, mid-August, and then fully staffed with just 2 shy in terms of full-time equivalents on September 1st.
Okay. That's really impressive to have 30 recruits coming in, and yeah, I wish them all well. And so, do you anticipate? I know forced overtime is sometimes a challenge when they go out to the deployment, but do you anticipate?
So what we have coming up is effects bargaining. And because our local members understand that it will be a time where we all have to tighten the belt, I think we have options. And so again, because it's subject to effects bargaining, I'm not going to be able to speak to too much, but we have been in a situation similar to this before, 2008, when we had, again, the economic downturn. There were basically ways in which we work through thinking outside the box to tighten the belt. We think we can use similar strategies for those 6 weeks.
Yes, it's, I guess, lessons learned. Well, thank you very much. That's all that I had. Did we take public comment yet?
We did.
We did, okay. May I get a motion to approve?
Absolutely. Motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Vice Chairperson Arenas,
Yes.
Chairperson Abe-Koga.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you so much, thank you. We'll go on to item 5, which is to receive a report relating to the Vector Control District Proposition 218 Assessment Ballot Proceeding and Benefits Assessment. And do we have staff? Is it Mr. Edgar? Yeah.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Arenas. Edgar Nolasco, your Consumer Environmental Protection Agency Director. I have the pleasure of introducing item 5, the Vector Control District report on the third benefit assessment. As my team sets up, as you may know, the Vector Control District provides critical mosquito and vector control services to protect human health in Santa Clara County. Currently, we're facing some challenges with the emergence of the invasive Aedes aegypti that has the potential of spreading diseases, and ongoing challenges with controlling West Nile virus in our county, among other vectors, as we explore a third benefits assessments to provide with ongoing funding to our Vector Control District. With me today is Dr. Nayir Zahiri, Vector Control District Manager, Stephen Thomas, SEPA Departmental Fiscal Officer, and Boo Thai, SEPA Administrative Services Manager. I will now pass it over to Ms. Thai.
Good morning, Chair Abe-Koga and Vice Chair Arenas. Boo Thai from Consumer and Environmental Protection Agency. Today we have prepared a brief presentation, but also have provided a detailed report to highlight the need for vector control to go forward with a possible ballot assessment. We did in the report highlight the financial impacts to vector control as well as their strategies for looking at efficiency as well as trends related to West Nile virus and Aedes aegypti. With that, I'm going to ask if Chair Abe-Koga, would you like the presentation or would you, we're also open for questions.
Actually, if you wouldn't mind going through the presentation,
Great,
that'd
thank
be
you.
great.
So this slide here highlights just where the historical background for vector control. Starting in 1996, vector control has their first assessment and then a second assessment occurring in 2005. During that time, as you can see in the timeline, the first detection of West Nile virus occurred in 2003. We received, unfortunately, the first human death related to West Nile virus in 2004. And then last season, 2004, we found multiple detections of Aedes aegypti in our county. In this slide, we wanted to highlight in the situation that vector control has related to their revenue and expenditure. As you can see, vector control is experiencing a budget shortfall of close to $4 million. We really have drained our reserves and really to offset the total expenditure for vector control. And this slide can definitely highlights more of the structural deficit that the vector control is experiencing. You see that the red shows the fund balance, and the blue highlights the fund balance use, and it's outpacing the fund balance that we have. And if we're looking at fiscal year 2006, 2007, we're definitely going to be below our fund balance. We also wanted to give you some information about the neighboring counties. What we want to draw attention to is Santa Clara County. When we look at the area of square mileage and the population, in our county, the charge per benefit unit is $14.63. When you look at other counties like Contra Costa, San Mateo, have smaller population as well as square mileage, their cost per benefit is higher. We just here in the report, we provided some details, but wanted to give you high-level strategies that Vector Control has deployed to slow down the expenditures, looking at efficiencies around technology, leveraging technology, looking at a collective procurement related to our purchase of pesticides, as well as looking at slowing down leveraging of extra help and filling vacancies. And so given the various strategies that we have deployed, unfortunately, we are needing to bring in additional revenues. And so, in particular, we're anticipating the presence of Aedes aegypti. It's going to be a busy season for us in addressing and hopefully managing the presence of this mosquito in our community. And finally, I just wanted to give you a quick update on, the steps of benefit assessment. It's very different than what you may be familiar with around parcel tax. Here, this is a mail ballot. We mainly send the ballot out to property owners, and they have about 45 days to vote and bring it, return in their ballots. And so I found this table to be helpful to understand the benefit assessment and the process related to that. So here are the sequence of events if we were to move forward with the ballot assessment. We are looking to work with a contractor to help us with the survey, the opinion survey, to understand what is the property owner's likelihood to support a benefit assessment. We will be working with the vendor to help with the opinion survey, to then conduct a preliminary engineering report, as well as doing community outreach. And the remainder I want to highlight here is that if we are going to go back to the board once we have the results of the opinion survey and present that result to the board, and these items here, these tasks, will be based on our results and the direction of the board. So we have not committed these resources yet, but we are, by March 2026, we will come back to the board to provide additional information to see if we will proceed with the assessment. And then just next steps that we are working with procurement to bring on SCI Consulting Group to help us with the initial scope of work related to not only the research but also preparing the opinion survey and the preliminary reports there. So this concludes our presentation of this item, and we're open for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. We'll go to public comment first. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak?
We have no speakers in chambers. One moment for the Zoom room. And we have no virtual speakers.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll close public comment. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any comments or questions?
Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you so much for the information. It's I know it's difficult to try to do at this point, right? Because folks may not have the appetite to do this and to tax themselves, and maybe to tax others if they don't own a home, they'll be okay. I think it would be really wonderful to, as you go through this process and you do the data, the research, and figure out exactly what that appetite is, I think we have to go for the gusto. In other words, I think since 1996, we have a $5 with 8 cents per parcel. And this has been, is a standard rate to this day, right? And then it moved up to $9.55 in 2005. I think we need to figure out, and I don't know what the maximum is that we can move it up to, but I think we can't continue to go back to taxpayers. We need to figure out what that is and approximate to the future so that we can get the most that we can out of this, right? And not because we want to ask, be unreasonable with taxpayers. It's just that it's so costly, one, to go out to residents and to do to do the research, to take the focus off of the work that you're doing, then do the research, then get all this information, go potentially have a campaign to figure out whether residents want to do this or taxpayers want to do this or not. I just think, we've kind of been learning our lesson, if you will, as we have been updating fees through the last, this last budget season. Sylvia, I see you shaking your head because, we have seen and appreciated, we've been so generous with residents in not increasing fees, but at the same time, we're really, it is at our cost, right? And then we have to take a look at efficiencies and really tighten the belt when things get really tough. And so I think I don't know at what point you'll take a look at what that amount is going to be. And I don't know if it's in the first step when you do the data research and the preliminary assessment of engineering and planning. I don't know what it is, but I think let's make sure we ask for what we need now and not have to go back to the taxpayers again, so that we don't get turned down in case this is a turn. I don't know that taxpayers. I don't know what that category is in terms of maximum cost to them and it also matters how we relay the message in terms of what are those taxes. But I would be really interested as we go through this, what is the messaging that we're actually using? And I'm sure that that's part of the research to figure out how to message this, how to say this the best way, because people, obviously we're not going to be reductive about why it is that we need to increase this. So anyways, and anything more that you can let us know. I know that if anybody has already some experience with putting a proposition, an assessment on the ballot, that would be useful to figure out what lessons learned and what are we doing different this time.
Vice Chair, if I may answer some of your questions. Thank you so much. The suggestion is great. So as we look at our two assessments currently in vector control, our 96 assessment, which was the initial assessment, is frozen in time per se. That one's frozen at $5.08.
Oh, I see.
Our 2005 assessment does have an escalator of up to 3% if CPI does indicate that. And we, for the last 3 years, have come to your board requesting that increase in 3%. But the suggestions that you are giving us is actually great. Our county executive gave us that same suggestion, is not keep going back to the residents and the constituents to have another tax, another assessment, is to have an escalator that will allow these assessments to keep up with costs, because costs are going up way faster than our revenues. For instance, since 2016, our salaries have increased by 59%. Our supply costs have gone up by 39% versus our revenues have only gone up by 13%. So it doesn't match, and your comments are true. We're going to look at those factors and try to institute what is the appetite of the public, but also ensure that it has an escalator to capture ongoing costs as we go into the future.
Perfect. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. We've seen what South County, we just finished listening to the previous item, and that is proof of insolvency when you don't keep up with revenues, right? With the cost of what it takes to provide a service. So that makes complete sense. I don't know, Sylvia, you wanted to, through the chair, if there was anything you wanted to add.
Mr. Nolasco captured it well. The only comment I would add is we wholly agree with your comments.
Perfect. Okay. I'm done. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. I really appreciate your comments and suggestions. 100% agree. I think we've talked about cost recovery, and that is really important. I would. It sounds like then we at this point with the second assessment we cap it at 3% CPI up to 3%. So perhaps we just include the CPI is one thought. But I do think that it is important for us to go for the maximum we can. And as mentioned, there's definitely, I think we all see it, a lot of voter fatigue. So the less we have to go out to the voters, I'd say the better. And, it makes sense to include some kind of cost CPI or some kind of increase to hopefully be able to keep up with the. I would say, though, I would shy away from, I know staff, it takes staff to do the work, but that's not necessarily a popular reason. So, but I know that you've done a lot of efficiencies, and so I think that it's really going to be about the messaging and being able to explain to the voters why this is necessary. I also think that the table you provided with the neighboring counties is very helpful, and I'm glad to see that we're doing more with less. And I think that is a good argument that could be made. So I just want one more question about the timing. It said, your expectation of March 2026 to bring it back to the board. I'm thinking next year there's an election, and I think it's March and November. So is the plan to go out in November, or was there any thought about going out earlier in March when the ballot's not as crowded? I'm just concerned there's going to be a lot of different revenue measures coming on November 26th.
Just to go back a bit, Madam Chair, some of your comments are well received, and we wholly agree that we need to ensure we capture, escalators and that our assessments keep up with our costs. So we'll ensure we'll have that. To answer your second part, the first part of this third assessment is to survey the public and understand their appetite.
Okay, yes.
Once we do that, we will come back to the board to see what is the appetite of the board going forward. What does the survey results say? If the survey results come back and say, no, the will isn't there, we will reconvene and come back to your board. Or if there is an appetite for this third assessment, you will come back to the board and assess that thoroughly. In terms of timing, timing is a factor.
Yes.
It is a little bit different with an assessment tax. There's a 45-day window to send ballots. It's a little bit different. It only goes to property owners, and it's a weighted item. So based on the type of property and the amount that you pay, your votes are weighted. So it's a little bit different than your typical tax measure. So there is some benefits to that.
But do you still have to go out at a time of an election?
Let me
right? Or you
check
can
in
go
with
out
my
at any
team.
time?
Would you know when it would go out, Ms. Ai?
I don't believe so.
Oh,
We
you
just
can
would
just go out whenever.
note,
Oh,
and
okay.
45 days is the time frame, and so it's not like a parcel tax where we're aligning it with the election,
Okay.
and it's a one-day vote of the voters. It is a mail ballot to the property owners that will be receiving the benefit.
Okay, so we have more flexibility with
If actually we show the slide, please. There's, I think, slide deck 8, please. So just to provide some clarity, what Ms. Thies mentioned is it's not attached to your typical tax that goes on a ballot. It is sent to property owners, and they have a window of time to respond.
Okay.
So it's not tied to one particular day. There is a day that we send that out, and then they have 45 days
To send
from
it
that
back
day
in.
to send those back to us.
Okay, great. Oh, in that case, then, yeah.
And also, if I may
Disregard
add, Madam
comments.
Chair, in that table, we did further analysis comparing us to other special districts in surrounding counties. So what we did is we did an analysis dividing how much revenue we bring in versus the population within that jurisdiction. And we have the lowest amount at $4.23 per resident, with, on average, the county Contra Costa, county of San Mateo, they charge $9 per resident. And their second lowest being Alameda at $8. So we're well below that amount, revenues versus the population that we serve. As Santa Clara County being the most populous county in Northern California.
Right, sure. Yeah, well, that's good news. So, well, thank you for the clarification. With that, may I get a motion to receive the report?
Yes, motion to receive the report.
And I'll second.
Vice Chairperson Arenas,
Yes.
Chairperson Abacoga,
Aye.
motion carries.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to the presenters. We'll go to the next item, which is item 6, receive a verbal report from the Office of the County Executive relating to agricultural worker housing. And is this Ms. Gate?
Good morning, Sylvia Gallegos, Deputy County Executive. A brief report today with a focus on our initial work with the City of San Jose on an MOU relative to AB 3035, the Pellerin Bill. So we have some terms that were presented to us, and I'm convening with council and other pertinent staff. I would like the county to prepare the framework of an MOU rather than the other party. And so we are in the process, I'm not sure the status, but we are in the process of scheduling the meeting with the City of San Jose to start that process. And that's my report for today.
Perfect. Oh, I'm so sorry, through the chair. Apologize. I'm wondering, okay, so great, I know that this is a negotiation to acknowledge some of the concerns of the City of San Jose. Can you summarize what those, what is their main concern, and what would we be negotiating specifically based on their concerns? Because I know they had a couple of them, but I don't know. Obviously, this has made it over the finish line. I wanted to just know what those concerns are and how can we realistically address some of those concerns that they expressed.
I would summarize their concerns that they have areas that may meet the terms of the bill. So, as you know, this expanded upon Revis's Farm Worker Housing Act earlier, I think in 2018. And so now it increased the number of units that could be built from 36 to 150, as you know. And Santa Clara County and Santa Cruz County are the pilot areas. And it's really restricted within a 15-mile area of land designated as agricultural grazing. I think, to summarize their concerns, we haven't met yet, that they want to ensure that housing isn't built that conflicts with their plans for development, is the way I'd summarize it. And I think that a way to address their concerns is about notice and communication, so they're not surprised. But again, we haven't had our first meeting, and I'm happy to, after we do, because I know obviously this was a recommendation by you to help push this Assembly bill past the finish line, that we'll circle back and communicate both privately in a meeting and to the balance of the board if they're interested.
Great, okay. So it continues to be that 15-mile radius and its impact on the city. I know that maybe we can just do offline, but I know that we want to be good partners, and obviously these efforts are not to compromise their development plans. And I have a really difficult time thinking about how this could conflict with some of their plans, because the city of San Jose has expressly prioritized central areas of San Jose, West San Jose, North San Jose as areas that they are going to develop. And the south part of the county, the south part of the city is not an area of focus for development. And so I don't know if hopefully we can address these concerns and just move forward. I just don't know how substantial they really are. I hope that maybe they were while this was getting through the process, in terms of the bill was getting through the process, that these were expressed, but maybe misrepresented somehow, and that really there isn't really much to MOU about. Anyways, we'll hopefully we can talk offline a little more clearly. Thank you.
I have to admit, I need to get up to speed on this issue, but happy to assist in any way I can to move it forward. Thank you. Any public comment on this item?
We have no speakers on the item.
Okay, thank you. So verbal reports, I don't think we need to take a motion to receive it, so thank you so much. We'll go on to item 7, which is to receive an annual report from the Office of Supportive Housing relating to housing and community development programs. And we have many staff. Welcome.
Good morning, Chairperson Abikoga and Vice Chair Arenas. KJ Kaminsky, Acting Director for the Office of Supportive Housing. We are here to share our 5th annual Housing and Community Development Report. You see us here often and at the full board often with various projects we're working on, and this report is an opportunity for us to bring that information together and show the full scope of our work under our Housing and Community Development team. So we're joined by several managers. I'll start by passing it to Natalie Monk, our Housing and Community Development Division Manager.
Thank you, KJ. Good morning. So the Housing and Community Development Division within the Office of Supportive Housing administers the county's housing and community development programs. We're organized around 4 categories of work: housing development, community development, asset management, and policy and regional efforts. This is the 5th annual report, which covers the period of March 2024 through February 2025. This chart shows the 4 main categories of our work and highlights some of the major functions included in each category. We are extremely proud of the collective body of work that our team has accomplished during this period, and we'd like to highlight a few of these for each category. Now I'm going to hand it off to Stephen Jackson to talk about housing development.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm Stephen Jackson, Program Manager for Housing Development. My team primarily oversees projects that are funded through the county's Supportive Housing Development NOFA. And we also have Emily Chen, who's a Program Manager for Housing Development on county-controlled property, but she was unable to join us this morning. Together, we work on advancing the county's goal of creating and expanding affordable and supportive housing opportunities through the facilitation of housing development. Now we'll share some of our highlights from the past year. As you saw, one of the strategies to increase affordable housing in our county is to develop it on county-owned land. This past year, we selected the Santa Clara County Housing Authority as our development partner for 2 properties, 10 Kirk in San Jose and 8th and Alexander in the city of Gilroy. Both of these projects are now in the pre-development phase. Another project that's on county-owned property is on East Santa Clara Street in San Jose. The developers, Eden Housing and Core Companies, were recently entitled, got their 3 phases of development entitled. And the next step will be for us to present this project to the board in the spring. Next slide. In May of 2024, the Board of Supervisors approved the Winchester Boulevard Apartments in San Jose. This will be a 101-unit development that will provide 25 units of permanent supportive housing. We've continued to partner with the Valley Transportation Authority on 4 transit-oriented development properties, which will redevelop underutilized VTA parking lots into affordable and supportive housing. 3 of these sites have recently been entitled by their local jurisdictions and will collectively provide 488 affordable multifamily rental units at the following VTA stations. Winchester Station in Campbell, which will provide 90 units and was recently approved by the Board of Supervisors in January of 2025. The Berryessa Station in San Jose is expected to provide 195 affordable units, and the Capitol Station in San Jose will provide 203 units. The final site is Branham Station in San Jose, which will be an affordable home ownership development that will offer 45 townhomes to households with incomes ranging from extremely low to moderate income. Next slide. We recently submitted a Home Key Plus application to the state of California in partnership with Abode Housing. If awarded, this program will provide all of the remaining financing necessary for the Algarve Apartments development to begin construction by the end of 2025. In October of 2024, Hawthorne Senior Apartments began construction, which is the 3rd and final development identified in our MOU with the Housing Authority. This development will provide 103 senior units, of which 21 will be permanent supportive housing. In December of 2024, 3 of the board-approved developments received their final piece of affordable housing financing, their tax credits. With these awards in hand, the Kuzer Apartments and 525 North Capitol developments will begin construction in San Jose by June of this year, and Distal Circle, which started as one of our county-led developments, will be the first ever 100% affordable housing development in Los Altos, and this is expected to begin construction as early as May of this year. 2024 was a very busy year for us. We had 5 properties that completed construction. Royal Oak Village completed construction last year, and of the 73 affordable units, we are incredibly proud that we were able to provide housing to 30 of our county's agricultural workers and their families in Morgan Hill. 2 of our Home Key awarded developments, 2 of our Home Key awarded developments completed construction last summer. The Heartwood Apartments, which is in Morgan Hill, in Mountain View, and Sunrise Pavilion, which provides housing for transition-aged youth exiting foster care in San Jose. Bellarmino is the first of our MOU developments with the Housing Authority to complete construction in San Jose, and Roosevelt Park Apartments, which provided a mix of affordable, supportive housing, TAY, veteran, and IDD units in San Jose. Together, these 5 developments amount to 340 affordable units that have collectively housed 1,330 people.
Thanks, Stephen. Now Katrina Anderson is going to go over our community development work.
Thank you, Natalie. The HCD division also oversees a variety of community development activities using several state and federal funds where the county serves as the lead entity. Specifically, we act as the lead in the Urban County Program for CDBG, the Home Consortium, and the county's PLHA Consortium. These funding sources, along with the 2016 Measure A Affordable Housing Bond, help support the Emergency Shelter Capital Improvement Program, the Empower Homebuyer SCC, or known as Empower program, the BMR Partnership Program, the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program, known as MCC, as well as other programs. We also partner with local jurisdictions and CBOs to meet a variety of housing and community development needs in the local community. I'll highlight a few of these accomplishments. Next slide. As I mentioned, we manage the PLHA Consortium on behalf of the county and the cities of Cupertino, Gilroy, and Santa Clara. During the last year, we committed approximately $320,000 in PLHA funding for the operations of Bella Vita Santa Clara and had previously allocated $360,000 for a variety of homeless services in the city of Gilroy. Next slide, please. We're currently funding 2 capital improvement projects with our partner cities. The first is to provide new shade structures at the Magical Bridge All-Inclusive Playground in the city of Morgan Hill, and the second is for accessibility improvements at the Heritage House Community Center in Los Altos Hills. Next slide, please. We acquired 17 Empower Home Buyer SCC loans issued by Housing Trust Silicon Valley, with a combined value of about $3.5 million. Next slide, please. We've leveraged approximately $615,000 in CalHome funding from the state and $185,000 in housing bond funds to issue loans to 6 home buyers through the BMR Partnership Program. And finally, in July, the board approved a new pilot program to help farm workers and other low-income households afford to purchase manufactured homes.
Thanks, Katrina. Now I'm going to pass it to Tina Lee to talk about our asset management work.
Hello, my name is Tina Lee. I am the program manager overseeing the asset management team. OSH is responsible for managing the county's loan portfolio, including both multifamily rental housing developments and loan issues to single-family homeowners. The county's portfolio consists of 230 multifamily development loans, 195 single-family loans with a combined value of $783 million. OSH's asset management services ensure that developments remain affordable long-term and that borrowers comply with their loan documents. Now I'll highlight some key achievements. Next slide. During the past year, we analyzed and approved 3 loan modifications to preserve 297 existing affordable and supportive housing units in our portfolio. We also completed 14 HQS inspections to ensure that our existing affordable and supportive housing units are in good physical conditions. And we processed 9 payoff demands from single-family homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. The HCD division of OSH is also involved in affordable housing policy and legislation review and in seeking new funding opportunities to expand the production of affordable and supportive housing. In January, the board approved 2 funding agreements for the city of San Jose to provide pass-through funding to the county to support up to 4 affordable homeownership developments and 1 multifamily rental mixed income development. And I also wanted to highlight that CalHFA released an RFI in November to get information on pipeline projects for a potential new program they're considering. We partnered with the VTA, San Jose, and the Housing Authority to work with MTC to help quantify our regional affordable housing pipeline in order to support this effort. And thank you to the board, county council, Fleet and Facilities, and the many others who make this work possible for us at OSH. And that concludes our report. Happy to take questions.
Thank you. If it's okay, I'd like to get a public comment first. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers.
Great, thank you. We'll close public comment. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any comments or questions?
I do. Thank you so much for the presentation. Very, very helpful. I was wondering about, and I know that you included some of the projects that have already that I'm going to mention now. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the 8th and Alexander project in Gilroy. The idea was for us to reserve units for the agricultural workers and their families, and is that still in play?
Thank you for the question, Supervisor. So we have now selected a developer for that site. We have partnered with the Housing Authority, which was approved by the board, I believe, in January. The board has also set aside a reservation of funds for that development, and we are working closely with the Housing Authority to start community engagement and the design process.
Okay, so then, once you choose that developer, is that when the decision will be made about the number of units that will be dedicated for agricultural workers?
So we have a memorandum of understanding in place with the city of Gilroy, which I believe states that there will be at least 57 units at the site. And we have selected the Housing Authority, so they have that information available to them.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know that, have you met with the new mayor? Have you all given an update to the new mayor?
I'll defer to KJ Kaminsky, Acting Director.
Hi, thank you for the question, Supervisor. We have not given an update to the new mayor that I'm aware of, but we'd be happy to meet with them and share an update.
That's wonderful. The reason I ask is because I just met with him yesterday, and I've had a number of meetings, and for the very first time, I think, in a long time for Gilroy, there's a mayor that is progressive in the way that they think about the unhoused and the way that they may integrate housing, affordable housing into their cities, and I think it's very exciting. So I'd love to have an opportunity and then join you in that meeting with him, as he has his own hopes and, of course, priorities about what he wants for the city of Gilroy. And so I would love to include him in what has already been decided, but also allow him to provide direction and just feedback if and when there is any necessary from him, so that there's a continued feeling of investment and buy-in from the leadership in that city. And I saw you shaking your head, KJ, so we'll talk offline.
Yes, absolutely. And I just also want to add, we do meet regularly with the staff at the city of Gilroy too, and so they may be providing updates to their elected officials.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm sure they have. I just want to make sure that these are kind of volunteer-based for smaller cities. And I only laugh because I think volunteer for the size of work that they are signed up for is just not fair, right? There's so much that needs to get done in South County for the many years that it has been underserved. And so anything that we can do to help bring folks along as quickly as we can so that they can continue to walk with us is something that I look forward to. So, I'm so sorry.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Consuelo Hernandez, Deputy County Executive. I realized just now, Supervisor Arenas, that this is the first project that is a county-led development in your district. And so to give you a sense of the next steps, we are first working with the Housing Authority to develop a draft community engagement plan. And then we would actually meet with you and your team to go over that, including a list of stakeholders and the approach. Because we want to make sure that the board office, specifically in the district that it's located, has an opportunity to give us feedback on the engagement. The staff one-on-one meetings that we have monthly, we have those with most of the cities, particularly where we have a county-led project. But really, we want to make sure that the board office is at the front of the development, particularly because it's in your district and you'll have to defend the project. And, this project is I think we started working on it in 2020. It's taken us a really long time. And we want to get it right. So you will be hearing from me and KJ in the next month to schedule that meeting. We just are finalizing the early draft of the engagement plan, and KJ and I have not had a chance to see it. So we'll be reaching out before we make any formal community engagement attempts to the city in that kind of more elected way, if you will. Just wanted to share that. Apologies for not having that before.
I appreciate it. I think overall, it would be a wonderful opportunity for us to just meet with the mayor together. But I understand there's a specific process for this particular project, and that you've just outlined. I look forward to participating. I look forward to just having this in South County. And like you said, not everybody's, maybe not everyone's going to be excited, right? It is sometimes for neighbors something that they would like to see elsewhere happen. But no less, it's an exciting thing for all of us, and so I just appreciate all the efforts that you make to ensure that there's feedback, that there is investment, and that people feel that they're being heard. So completely appreciate that to both of you. I wanted to ask about the Magnolia project in the city of Morgan Hill, and what the status is on that for the designation of the agricultural worker units.
Thank you for the question. So the Magnolia's development applied for tax credits in January. TCAC has published the preliminary recommendations, which currently include the Magnolias project. We have our fingers crossed, and we're cautiously optimistic. If it's awarded, it would then start construction within 6 months.
I'm knocking on wood, crossing my fingers. I don't know if I had salt, I'd throw it over my shoulder, whatever it takes. But I know that you all are doing the work that needs to get done. So hopefully everything turns out well there. Okay, and then my last question is about the manufactured home purchase program and the launching of that pilot. What does that look like?
Thank you for the question. So we're currently developing our program documents. This is the first time that the county will act as the first lender. So we're developing those documents, and we're also putting together our community workshop plan. We intend to host a series of workshops to outreach directly to agricultural workers and others in South County. And we're talking with the city of Gilroy and the city of Morgan Hill about participating in those with us.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It is absolutely exciting. I just think for the very first time, I think we're all hearing, for the very first time in South County, I think it's just absolutely exciting. So thank you so much for the really good work that has led up, even though it's been a number of years. It's exciting to me. So I look forward to what you develop for the project outreach, and please count my office in on those efforts. I'd love to be part of that. We would love to be part of any and all of these things. So thank you. Those are my questions, Chair.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and it is exciting to see all of the amazing work that's being done and a lot of firsts. And I know it was mentioned the first all 100% affordable housing project in Los Altos. The community is extremely excited about it, and it's a big accomplishment for that community to support this. So very excited to see the progress of all these projects. I just had a couple of questions. I mentioned projects on county-controlled land, and I was wondering, may I get an inventory, a list of what county-controlled lands are available? It would be helpful to see that. Thank you.
Happy to share that.
Thank you. Something I been working on with my VTA hat on, and just to raise awareness is with the projects with VTA, there's interest from the agency and I believe the employees to see if there's a way to be able to give VTA employees preference. And I know there's fair housing issues, so we're actually looking at hopefully maybe having some state legislation sponsored at some point to allow that, just like teachers are allowed to, or school districts are allowed to give preference to teachers. But I just wanted to bring that up because hopefully we'll be hearing more about that. And then last night at our neighborhood meeting came up, this is regarding housing policy. I don't know if it's here or elsewhere, but there's interest in ADU development, and in my district, that's getting to be more popular. There was state law that passed that allows for larger units, frankly. I don't know that our policies have adjusted to the state policy. A resident mentioned he's interested in building a larger one, but was told that our county policy doesn't allow it's like 1,200 square feet, I think, at the state level, and we're still at 800. But I was hoping that to get clarification, or if we need to make that policy change, if we can bring that up soon. Yes, please.
Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development. We allow 1,200 square feet, so I'd like to.
Oh,
yes, I
okay.
would like to maybe reach out to this
Yes.
person and
Okay, great.
understand where they're getting that information from.
Okay.
So, and we are aligned with the state.
We are, okay, great. I
But
just
if
wanted to
you
make sure.
give me that contact, we'll
Okay.
be happy to work with them.
Yes, great, thank you. He was interested in renting to teachers, so it does, I think, help in the affordable housing effort. So, great. Well, with that, if there's no other comments, may I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. I'll second.
Vice Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Chairperson Abacogo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone. We will go on to item 8, which is to consider recommendations from the Office of Supportive Housing relating to supportive housing system reports. And we have presenters today.
Thank you, Chairperson. KJ Kaminsky, Acting Director, Office of Supportive Housing. For this item, I'm joined by Laura Ortega-Fuentes and Leila Qureshi, who will be giving our regular update on our supportive housing dashboard, and this month's highlight is on our efforts to support veterans. Laura?
Good morning. I'm just sharing my screen here. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Like KJ said, we're going over our supportive housing dashboard and also the addition of veterans today. We're happy to be here. Just some context again, we went over this last time, but just because the revised schedule was approved, I wanted to go over it one more time. But we've been presenting to the board on supportive housing improvements and progression since 2016 as directed by the Board of Supervisors. Our revised schedule will start in May, which is exciting. It'll be the same amount of reports that are happening now, but just condensed into every other month reports. And starting in May, we'll have the supportive housing dashboard paired with 2 other programs or subpopulation reports, as you see here. First, we are looking at our progress on our community plan goals. Our community plan is our North Star that's system-wide that ensures that all entities striving to end homelessness in our community are aligned on goals and strategies. It's from 2020 to 2025 to the end of this year. On progress on housing 20,000 people by 2025, we are at 89% of the goal, which is really exciting work. A huge testament to everybody working so hard to house all of our unhoused neighbors. Another key goal is to reduce the amount of people flowing into the homelessness system. Our inflow is calculated by those households completing their assessment for the first time, their housing assessment. As you can see, we are making strides towards that 30% reduction from the baseline, but we have more work to do. We talk a lot about expanding prevention efforts and ensuring there's continued developments of affordable housing in our community, and that is still definitely much needed. This slide is going over program capacity and utilization for programs for permanent housing. So that's permanent supportive housing, long-term rental assistance with supportive services, and rapid rehousing, which are short-term rental assistance with supportive services, but then also some temporary programs like emergency shelter, safe parking, prevention, and transitional housing. You can see that over time, since comparing 2024 to 2025, we really are pretty stable in our capacity, with the most capacity in permanent supportive housing with over 4,000 units. We are going to see permanent housing capacity increase slowly over time as the projects that are under construction or in the pipeline are coming online in the next few years. We have a little over 1,000 of those units coming online. In terms of program utilization, we continue to see that PSH, rapid rehousing, and homelessness prevention have the highest rates of utilization. For housing placements and inflow, we'd like to see this month-to-month comparison to help us keep track of how we're doing with housing households in need, but also the inflow that's happening month-to-month. So you can see that over the last year, we've had about 2,200 households that have been housed, and but a little over 4,000 assessments that have happened. So we are making strides on that, closing that gap. But as you can see, there's still work to be done. There's still a great need for permanent housing, especially permanent supportive housing. For January, for the 373 households that were assessed, a little over half were scoring as needing PSH level of intervention. For the 204 households housed in January, it was pretty evenly split between rapid rehousing and PSHs in terms of housing programs. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague.
Good morning, everyone. I will be going over some of the highlights for our veterans programs. We have 3,062 unhoused veterans in Santa Clara County who were placed in permanent housing since 2015, when we launched our All the Way Home campaign to end veteran homelessness using a variety of supports and initiatives. This is a reflection of dedicated resources to support veterans in our community at the federal, state, and local level. In this chart, we see veterans housed by program and the type of assistance that they received. Over half, 55% of veterans were housed with assistance from the HUD-VASH, Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program. And these VASH vouchers are incredibly helpful in our efforts to end veteran homelessness, and probably the most effective since they provide a permanent voucher. Over 20% were housed with the SSVF program, which is Supportive Services for Veteran Families, and this is a rapid rehousing program. And we also see veterans housed with general COC vouchers and other city and county rapid rehousing programs. It's also just to note that over the past 12 months, 177 housed veterans were assisted with homelessness prevention programs, and these are primarily from agencies providing services through SSVF program. And this is about 5% of total households assisted by prevention programs. Okay, when we look at program outcomes, we see that veteran outcomes tend to be better or similar to system-wide outcomes, with the exception of emergency shelter, permanent exits, and returns to homelessness. If you see the chart to the left, that overall veterans exited into permanent housing at a higher rate, which is 62%, compared to the system-wide population at 42%. Veterans, many with comorbidities, show lower rates of exits to permanent housing destinations from shelter programs compared to the system-wide population, so 28% versus 39% respectively. We reached out to our partners at the VA and they let us know that service providers have shared veterans with behavioral health issues often have difficulties living in shared settings despite their need for caregiving assistance. And just to note that there are some other challenges and barriers include aging veterans with complex medical and mental health needs. This chart is similar to the chart that Laura showed earlier for our whole system, but it shows the results for veterans. So the chart shows the green bar on the right, on the left, I guess, showing the number of veterans placed into permanent housing is higher than the number of veterans who are requesting assistance for the first time, which is our measure of homeless inflow. And this is reflective of those dedicated resources that we have for veterans. In the last 12 months, 254 veterans, or an average of 21 per month, have been placed in permanent housing. And during the same period, 146, an average of 12 per month, completed a housing assessment for the first time. So if this current trend continues, we can reduce returns to homelessness, we believe we can reach functional zero for veteran homelessness. And in general, factors contributing to veteran homelessness are similar to overall the population, which include foreclosures, evictions, and loss of employment and income. Okay, this chart shows some characteristics of unhoused veterans that are currently on our master list, which is like a veteran by name list. And it's a list of nearly 300 veterans who are currently unhoused and are active in the county of Santa Clara and accessing services in our community. The master list is closely monitored by the VA and was designed as a tool to gauge progress toward ending veteran homelessness and to ensure that all veterans are offered and matched to a housing opportunity. So as you see on the left, about 90% of total veterans on the master list self-report some kind of disability, with over 60% reporting a mental health, physical, or chronic health disorder. For veterans on the master list who completed an assessment, so you can see the chart on the right showing that 45% score in the rapid rehousing range and 42% score in the permanent supportive housing range. And just to note that I did some additional analysis showing that younger veterans tend to score in the rapid rehousing range of intervention. Lastly, we show some of the demographics of unhoused veterans on the master list. By age, you see that 24% are in the 55 to 64 age range and 31% are 65 and above. And these percentages are higher than the overall Santa Clara County homeless population, unhoused population. And in terms of race and ethnicity, 47% of veterans are white, non-Hispanic, and Latinx, and 23% are Black, African American, or African, and these are both higher than the percentages for the overall homeless population. 21% are Hispanic, Latinx, which is lower actually than the overall homeless population at 51%. Thank you. This concludes our presentation, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you so much. We'll go to public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak?
We have no speakers.
Great, thank you. We'll close public comment. Thank you very much for the report. I will note that we are changing this to every other month instead of monthly. I know that one of our main focuses will be the building out of Measure A projects, and then I don't know if we have this on, we probably do have it on a future agenda item, but the community plan to end homelessness, I know that we're coming to the end of this version and we'll be starting the next one, but I believe the point in time count has been conducted, and just wondering if you've seen any trends on the findings, if you can give us a little preview of what's come about from that.
Thank you for the question. We are still in the data cleaning process and data analysis process for the PIC count, so we won't have anything to share until the spring. We're hoping to share a more full report then of trends. As far as the community plan to end homelessness, you're right, we are This one ends 2025, and KJ will share a little bit more about it, but we are in the planning stages so that we can continue to build on our current plan. So that's underway.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Ms.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would just add that we are planning to bring a report to the full board in May that will include an update on the community plan, both a report on our annual report for the entire effort, as well as the status of planning for the next one and building on those successes. So we look forward to talking with the full board about that in May.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I've noticed, and I've noticed this for a while, that rapid rehousing seems to be pretty successful. And is that an area that we should be maybe focusing more effort on? Your thoughts on that?
Thank you for the question. We do see some significant success with rapid rehousing with, I think we're at about 75%, 77% in this reporting period of folks exiting to permanent destinations.
Yes.
We do try to expand rapid rehousing with applying for new grants and seeking for new funding to expand those programs. One of the challenges with rapid rehousing is many of the folks, even at the end of the duration of their subsidy, which is up to 24 months, still require a low-income unit. And so we have paired rapid rehousing programs with those rapid rehousing Measure A units, which we are also measuring, which we're early in that process where the first couple of developments have come online and the first families and individuals who are in rapid rehousing have moved in. So we'll be tracking and measuring how that's going and if the success is even greater. But we absolutely are looking for opportunities to continue to expand those programs as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, on just expanding on what you just asked about, Chair, for the rapid rehousing, I'm gonna maybe guess that there's an overlap with folks who also qualify for Medi-Cal that are also in that same category, right? And I really look forward, and I'm going to press on this. I know that through the CalAIM restructure, there's also that drawdown for for rental assistance that could be applied. How closely are you tracking this and working with folks to figure out how can we get this? I know that the federal government, we all know, not even going to say what it is, but in the meantime, do you think it's worth pursuing, and what, if you can give me any update on what those efforts look like?
Thank you, Supervisor. We are pursuing the opportunities to leverage CalAIM across our system for these programs as well as others, including shelter, housing search and navigation. So we have many of those services we are currently leveraging Medi-Cal or CalAIM funding to support our supportive housing system, and are working with the managed care plans to expand the services that are available for which we can leverage additional funds.
So you're saying currently you're already leveraging the CalAIM. How is some? What does that look like so far?
So far we have leveraged CalAIM to support our efforts that are related to our client engagement team, the folks who help locate folks that are referred to housing and help them with housing search and navigation, that housing readiness, working through the documentation process. All of that is a currently eligible service that we are able to leverage CalAIM to cover a portion of those efforts. So we are also working with our shelters to explore opportunities to leverage CalAIM for residents staying in our shelters with the same or the same type of services, housing navigation, and tenancy supports.
So you're very close, it seems like, maybe also to draw down the other category, or from the other category that, I don't know if it's in the same category of engagement and outreach, or if it's in the other, forget what the other category is called, but that could draw down the rental assistance. What is it? I know it's outside of our system. In other words, we're not the ones who manage that piece. What is it that the other system is working on in order to be able to draw down on that?
So we're working with the managed care plans who are responsible for identifying sort of the packages of services that are available. And we, on the Office of Supportive Housing side, we're setting up the process and the system to be able to track and draw down those funds. Part of the challenge with CalAIM is that the guidance and the services that are available are being released at various points in time. So we're tracking and following and then trying to leverage them at the point that we are able to. So we're working with the managed care plans on expanding those services.
So really, the point here is, my words, not yours, but the bottleneck here is the managed care plans. They are the ones that need to figure the path forward, or to put together these packages that you just described, in order for everyone else in the systems to be able to use that lever to draw down that service.
It's a combination of the state guidance coming out over time and adding services and then the managed care plans figuring out how to leverage those services for their clients, and then us at the county setting up our processes to be able to document and leverage those for our folks that are accessing on services for unhoused folks.
So it's happened so far for the engagement and outreach piece. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what is, are we waiting for the state to provide us more direction on this? Is it the managed care health plans that don't have the capacity or are focused on something else?
The services that I described that we're currently leveraging were the first ones that they made available and the first ones that we piloted to put to leverage. The other ones are either not yet available, like we can't draw transitional rent yet, so we're still looking into that and working in partnership to be able to do that. So it's not that there's a bottleneck, but that those are new services that are newly available that we're working together to be able to leverage.
Are you saying that the outreach and engagement piece came out first, or the state was clear about the guidance, the managed care plans were able to operationalize whatever the state guidance provided, and then be able to provide us with a path forward to draw down those?
That's correct, and sorry I didn't say that more clearly
No,
first.
no,
That was
no.
well
just-
put. Yes, that package of services is called community supports, and those were sort of one of the first group of services that were identified through CalAIM at the state level that worked with the managed care plans, worked to make available to their clients.
Yeah, I guess I'm biting at the bit. I'm sure that you all are too, in terms of trying to figure out, or waiting. It doesn't feel good to just wait for it. I'm sure you're not waiting. I'm sure you're doing your piece in order to follow up with those managed care health plans and in conjunction with whatever the state is guiding them to do, or how to do this in order for us to do this piece. I just think, I know the state understands where we are in terms of our housing crisis, that I'm so surprised that the outreach and engagement would come first before drawing down some of the transitional rental, or the rental assistance piece that could come in. it just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. But here we are, trying to, for me at least, trying to figure out what that looks like and when to expect it. All right, I'm going to move forward from that. Thank you so much, KJ, about that. I think you all mentioned, or I wasn't sure if it was you, Chair, that mentioned the mayor's, the City of San Jose's mayor's March budget, and the reallocation of Measure E funding that was supposed to go, and at least that's what we said when I was on council. We told our constituents that it was going to go towards permanent housing, and now it's going towards a more temporary means of housing, which is looks like shelters as kind of the solution to all of this. And so I'm wondering what kind of impact do you think this will have on? I know our plan to end homelessness is coming to an end, but you clearly stated that more than the majority, more than half of those folks from the 5,500 that are on the waiting list apply or are eligible for the supportive permanent housing, right? And it's 70%, right? It's but this is not aligned. So how is this going to impact, since the city of San Jose is a pretty big partner in all of this? It's the largest city in our county.
I can take that one. Thank you, Supervisor, for the question. I think in terms of impact, we will continue on our side to do everything we can to expand permanent supportive housing. We know that there is a need for not only permanent supportive housing, but also rapid rehousing and just affordable housing in general to truly address homelessness. Shelter is also an incredibly important part of this system to provide immediate support to people who are outside, but we will continue to press on the solutions that we know folks need and we know are successful based on the data you saw today, and our retention rates in permanent supportive housing remain incredibly high. We'll look forward to emphasizing all of what we know through the data, through our experiences of our clients, what they share with us, as we engage with the community and with cities on the updated community plan, and working with the cities to identify what they can do to support the various strategies that we anticipate will range from outreach to shelter to permanent housing programs and the development of affordable housing.
I appreciate that response. I wouldn't expect anything else from you. But you mentioned earlier, KJ, that the folks, even though there is a lot of success rate in the rapid rehousing, you still find that the folks who are transitioning need some level of subsidy, right? And so to me, it just feels that we are going to get overwhelmed at the front end of this, this stream. That we are hoping to if we think of it as a path to move people forward in that path towards permanent housing, and we haven't, if we already know that there is issues of, obviously in every category there's issues with the veterans folks and their housing, because of that instability, or that I think you said that co-living with for veterans who have different issues such as behavioral health and then severe medical issues. It's still even though they are permanently housed, it still presents an issue for them to cohabitate with others. I guess I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that we can anticipate with what we already know, lessons we learned already, because this is, the shelter first is not, it's kind of opposite of the framework, if you will, with the plan to end homelessness. But if that's what the cities are beginning to do in terms of a first strategy, how do we counter that in order for folks not to feel, because it's going to be a revolving door, because there's only a certain amount of availability as the path narrows and people move further forward. How can we counter some of what we know is going to be an overwhelming need at the front end of this? Can you solve for it, KJ?
I wish I had the answer, but I do think that countering that is will take all of us, all partners involved, and we would look forward to working with you and other members of the board on messaging about the importance of permanent and affordable housing. We have data that we can share, but we also, I think, incorporating actual experiences of people in our system who, when they exit a rapid rehousing program, they found an affordable unit, and that's how they stabilized. If that affordable unit wasn't available, then they may not have housing stability today. And similarly, what we see in our shelter system is, I think the report today showed that 42% for emergency shelter, 39% of people exit to permanent housing. We also know that the vast majority of those who exited shelter to permanent housing either did so because they were enrolled in a rapid rehousing program, they were pulled off the wait list for a housing choice voucher, they were able to secure a below market rate unit, many of them received some sort of assistance or found an affordable unit. I think that story needs to be told more clearly, and we need to share that information in a way that shows while shelter is important, it is not the solution to someone's homelessness alone in many cases. Sometimes people do exit without further assistance, but the reality of our housing market and the shortage of affordable housing is, we know, the main driver for our homelessness problem here in Santa Clara County.
I wonder if there's also an opportunity, if people are shifting our system and how we pivot is also important, not only because the system is getting pressed, but because maybe pivoting is part of just being responsive and just trying something different. I know that in South County, through our grant program or inventory item grant program, I fund a group that provides first and last deposits. But this is for folks who are already homeless, not to prevent homelessness, right? And I know that we focus more on prevention of homelessness. And I wonder if this is an opportunity to maybe try something different with those folks who are in shelter, who just recently lost their home and could receive, it could be a big difference for them to get back into a permanent place if they were eligible for first and last or something of that sort.
Yes, Supervisor, and perhaps we could, we have a program called Housing Problem Solving within our system, and I don't believe we have ever highlighted that in our regular reports, but it's incorporated into the, I believe, temporary housing and shelter report, but maybe we could share a little bit more. It is intended to do that, provide sort of short one-time assistance, whether it be security deposit, first month's rent, similar to prevention, but for people who are either in the shelter system, they're already homeless, they call our hotline. We start with a housing problem-solving conversation, which just means instead of going to a shelter right away, let's talk about why you're homeless now and if there's something that we can do in the short term to support you. So we'd be happy to bring that into a future report and kind of give some more information about how that program works, who it helps, where it's being delivered, if that would be of interest.
Yes, that would definitely be of interest, and you're right. I think this is the first time I'm hearing about it, not because, well, because what you do is so vast, right? There's just so much that you're doing. You know, I don't mean to be reductive in efforts. I know that it's very comprehensive, everything that you all do. And so I'm not giving you anything that you haven't already done, haven't already thought about, and already in practice of doing. I'm just thinking about some counter efforts with what the city of San Jose is doing, because if they think that this is going to be the number one way of solving for the people who are out visibly in the streets, then maybe other cities will take note and pick up that same effort, which is kind of contrary to what this overall plan is meant to do. And I'm glad you talked about the messaging, because I think that's already, I know that we already talked about this. It's really important. I know you're working to ensure that we all have a messaging campaign to educate our community about what homelessness really is, or the stories of the unhoused are really are, because they are all of us. And we already talked about something happening in the interim, because I think it's so important to be vocal and counter some of the narrative in the same way that some of us continue to counter the narrative at the national level. Yesterday we were part of a press conference for an incident that happened in my district after Ramadan services to a number of our Muslim community members. And we have to continually counter whatever is being spewed at a national level, right? Because I think folks feel that there is a level of flexibility and permission. And I think in that same vein, if there's some cities that are doing things that are counter to what we find effective, that others will also think, you know what, they solved it that way. Let me jump on that bandwagon, because it took less money, maybe less effort, and we don't see folks, or we're not going to see as many folks as we have. And when you don't see people, you think the problem is solved, and of course we know that's not true. But anyways, I'm really looking forward to that. And please let me know, let our team know how we can participate and be very active in that. Those are the questions. I don't know if you have any comment, KJ, or...
If I may, through the chair, Supervisor Arenas, again, Consuelo Hernandez, Deputy County Executive, I just wanted to point us back to the report, specifically in your, under item 8A, the capacity and utilization report that was shared with you. In answering your question, it has to be a balance of investment from temporary housing, housing problem solving, homelessness prevention, and then the various permanent housing programs. The kind of dangerous approach that the mayor has taken is investing in one solution only and not a balance in those different areas. And we recognize that we are never going to have enough resources to help everybody. And if you put all, I think there's also this misconception that the county has only invested in affordable housing, and that's not the case. This board in 2015 actually stabilized all of the shelters in our county. And the city of San Jose was not funding those shelters, for instance. We took a leadership role in partnership with Destination Home, Sacred Heart, and community partners to establish a homelessness prevention system that now serves 2,500 households every year, and we prevent them from becoming homeless. And so I think that the kind of danger in the approach is that is not going to solve homelessness. It visually removes people from the streets. But at some point in the trajectory of their operations, they're going to find that people will stay in their shelter forever. And that's going to put them at risk of not being able to be eligible for permanent housing programs, because essentially they will no longer be homeless anymore if they're living in a shelter beyond a year. And so I think it's not recognizing those policy implications, but I'm very thankful to the Office of Supportive Housing and the partnership that we have with the 14 other jurisdictions. We saw the board approve the Palo Alto Partnership for Safe Parking. They also have 3 or 4 affordable housing developments in their pipeline, and they are looking at ways to partner with the county on a prevention strategy. And so that gives us hope in they're going to see the benefit from the county. Everything you said, Supervisor, about CalAIM, the county has a vested interest in finding and leveraging every single dollar, and there's no other team that I would trust more than the Office of Supportive Housing to be able to maximize those dollars in partnership with the managed care plans. As KJ mentioned, the supplemental funding that you were asking about, the MCPs, the managed care plans, are required to meet the obligation by next January. And so it takes them a while. The policy was effective January 1st of this year, and KJ and her team then have to figure out just to make sure that the eligibility requirements aren't significantly impacting the way that we run our programs. So you'll see in the data reports that are presented to you, the benefit of having this rich data and partnership with the VA is we get to adjust and pivot if the program is not performing in real time rather than waiting a year. And so, it's a big, and there's a lot that you don't see in the reports, and I look forward to the May presentation to the board, because I think that will be an opportunity to share with you the hundreds of programs you don't hear about, because again, there's just so much. So just wanted you to answer your question more directly around the challenge with the approach from the city and what the implications it will have, not just in San Jose, because a lot of the people, what is it, KJ, 70% of the people that call our hotline, for instance, are from San Jose, and they're not eligible to be served in those shelters based on the current policies that the city has. So there's a lot, and you'll see that impacted to some degree in the reports that come to you at this committee.
I appreciate that. In the interim, I would like to have us, and we spoke about this already just publicly. I just want to say that we need to have a unified message, because the message that other leaders in different municipalities, one, others may join, but two, that voice is pretty loud and is given a lot of weight. And so then it takes more than, just the program alone. It takes electeds, like ourselves, to continue to be verbal about any counter and inadvertent policy impacts that happen because of it, that we can warn ahead of time folks about, but also just be clear about what we truly are doing that is a lot more comprehensive in order to answer that question about the unhoused. And like you said, we're not ever going to address it completely, because there is no answer. If we know how to solve for poverty, then we can solve for the unhoused. And that question hasn't been answered. Even though there's folks who've tried over the years, at this point, I feel like, I don't know, maybe the world has thrown their arms up and just, well, we're just going to deal with it the way that we can. And of course, the salaries never keep up with the cost of living. But there's, anyways, it's a broader issue that I won't bring into this. But I think that there's more to this messaging than just the unhoused, and we have to say it as such. It is beyond the housing crisis. It's beyond the inventory that is limited. It is part of the lack of corporate responsibility to the workers who continue to be subsidized by the local governments. And that is something that I don't think is part of a speaking point for electeds. And I know it is really one of the issues that is at the helm of this, because working families can no longer purchase a home the way that they were able to, and the way that my parents did. It's just not possible. I mean, college graduates are not able to purchase homes. So anyways, I want us to really broaden what the messaging is beyond just what, what it is at this moment, because I think we allow people to get away with what the real, what the root causes of this housing crisis is. Because we're trying to solve for those issues in the moment, but we have to call it what it really is. Anyways, I appreciate your response, Consuelo. I'm going to move forward and make a motion to accept the report.
Thank you so much. I will second that motion.
Vice Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Chairperson Abacoga.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll move on to, excuse me. We'll move on to item 9, consider recommendations relating to activities in the department's reporting to the committee. I guess we'll just go down the dais. Do we have a report?
Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development, and I'll be brief. We are currently working on our service delivery models, and that includes looking at identifying minor permits that will be available 24/7 for applicants to submit electronically. We've identified approximately 18 minor permits that will allow applicants to submit. And we're going to be putting that up on our website. We're very excited about our new website. It has our ADUs on and has our pre-approved plans for accessory dwelling units on our website. And one of those is 1,200 square feet. So it allows applicants to select different types of elevations so that they can complement their architectural house, the existing house. So we're very excited about that. We're working still on our internal audit of our permit process and the needs that we have for information technology. We started this process through a county survey that was conducted by our internal audit division in the county, and it has springboarded now with Barry Dunn, who is an outside consultant that was secured to work with us on our permitting process for agricultural housing. And so now that's been partnered together. That report, the internal audit report, was submitted to FGOC January 22nd of this year. We're going to be reporting back to FGOC and as to the status of that internal audit. One of the other items we're working on, and we're excited about it, actually, we're excited about a lot of things in the department, but we're going to be preparing to come back just with an update on our housing element and the implementation. That was requested from several of the board members. We will be working with the Office of Supportive Housing because a lot of the programs in our housing element are championed by Office of Supportive Housing. And so we will partner in that report so that the board can understand the connections that have been made and the collaboration that's happening. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, Supervisor? All right, we'll move on to Mr. Harry.
Oh, thank you very much. Harry Freitas, I'm the Director of Roads and Airports Department. In the interest of time, I will be brief. Just to describe that 2 reports coming forward to the Hewlett Committee in April that are of policy interest to the board and this committee are the Active Transportation Plan, thank you, and the Foothill, the multimodal, the Homestead Safe Routes to School project. So we're giving you reports on both of those in April. And that's just a preview, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, Supervisor? Regarding the active transportation plan, my mind sort of blanks out, but I know MTC, we just did some work on it, and I believe MTC is providing technical assistance, and our county didn't get any of the grants this last round, and so we've been talking with staff there about what we need to do to be able to maybe qualify for more grants. So I'll definitely be interested in following up with you on that. Thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Aguilera.
Good morning, Joy Aguilera, Acting Director, Parks and Recreation Department. The department's excited to host its 30th annual volunteer recognition event scheduled for Saturday, April 26th at the Casa Grande Historic Site in Elmendon, Quicksilver County Park. This event will celebrate the contributions of volunteers for calendar year 2024, which included over 3,300 volunteers contributing over 42,000 hours of service to the department, to the community. And so formal invites will be sent to all board offices and other stakeholders. The department recently embarked on a development of a 5-year marketing plan, a communications plan. The goal is to reach more County of Santa Clara residents, particularly those in underrepresented communities. That was a huge action item from our recent DEI assessment. It's also to educate the public on the mission of the department to provide, preserve, and protect regional parklands while balancing the need for recreation with natural resource protection. In the coming months, the department will be working with a variety of stakeholders, focus groups, and Office of Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, and also the larger County Office of Communications to enhance that program. So that is underway, and there will be future updates on that. Finally, Parks Assist, which is the new department's customer service portal, was formally released to the public on 3/18 this past Tuesday. Where the department is excited about that service portal. We think it will greatly enhance customer interaction and service. That concludes my updates.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments, Supervisor? All right, thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Nolasco.
Good morning, or actually, good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. I'll be brief to get us out of here. Edgar Nolasco, your agency director for SEPA. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of attending the Los Altos Hills HOA meeting. It was a great event. It really helped bring awareness to SEPA programs. And the most hot topic, pun intended, was weed abatement. It was a great sort of event to engage the community and let them know what services we provide, and also an opportunity for them to ask questions directly on what county services and SEPA services are available to them. In the Vector Control District, we are launching a multilingual educational campaign featuring ads in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and now we've expanded now to Chinese on bus tails. These bus tails would allow us to gain a broader reach on engagement as we enter the mosquito season, and letting the community know that standing water is a no-no. Standing water is the enemy, and that is what spreads mosquitoes in our county. Additionally, Vector Control is scheduled to do a helicopter treatment in the Palo Alto area tomorrow in order to treat those areas in anticipation of mosquito season. And that is the conclusion of my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I just want to thank you again for coming out last night. I think we were back here less than 12 hours after we left last night, but very well received by the residents. So thank you for that. We will move on to KJ Kaminsky, please.
Good afternoon. You've heard a lot of highlights from us tonight, so I'll be brief as well, or this morning, I'll be brief as well. Just to note that we've been working with our partner cities on our consolidated plan for the CDBG and Home Consortium. And that draft consolidated plan and the annual action plan will be presented to the Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee on April 4th. We successfully leased up our Roosevelt development, and we are currently leasing up 4 other developments with rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing units, and 2 more, the Charles and Alvarado Park Senior lease up will start in the next couple of weeks. And then lastly, just note of our homelessness prevention system, really is recognized by many across the nation as a model, and was featured at California Policy Lab's Homelessness Prevention Conference in February, which brought folks together leaders in prevention from across the country together, and we were excited to be able to share the good work that our county is doing around prevention.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, Supervisor? Great. Do we have any public comment on any of the reports?
We have no speakers.
Great. All right. Well, with that, thank you so much. We stand adjourned, and our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 17th, 2025 at 10 a.m. here in the Board of Supervisors chambers. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.